In India, I rarely had hot water in my room and always had to shower using a bucket and water scooper. This may sound like it was hard to deal with, but I found it very comforting after getting used to it. I had eaten a lot of Indian food before going to India. I considered myself somewhat of an expert. However, Indian food in India is infinitely spicier than in the United States. It was tough to get used to because spices were in everything, even in their version of the pizza. But I eventually did, and it was delicious. As you can see, everyone in my group wore Indian clothes daily. Wearing Western clothes would have made us stand out in India even more than we already did. Plus, it often shows too much skin. I love the Indian clothes. They were very comfortable. The entirety of my group was female, including our director. Although this is changing, most women in India still have very traditional roles in society. Coming from the United States, where men and women are much more equal in the workforce, it was hard for me to adjust to female societal norms in India. Our hostels, aka our dorms, imposed an 11 p.m. curfew on us that later turned into a 12 a.m. curfew. Even with the extra hour, us Americans were not used to having to be home by a certain time. However, this curfew was enacted for our own safety. In this picture, you can see I am wearing a polio-free India hat, which is a current governmental health movement in the country. Most of us were in India to study public health. Each week we toured different health facilities and saw the vast differences between public health in India and in the United States. Indians do not traditionally have higher toilets or use toilet paper. Instead, they squat close to a hole in the ground and use water to wash themselves. Because of this, we always brought toilet paper and hand sanitizer with us when we went out. There were no electric washers or dryers available to us in India. We could either have them taken to be washed by someone or wash them ourselves. I decided to hand wash my clothes the whole semester. I had never really done it before, and it taught me a great skill I still use now that I am back in the United States. In this picture, I am posing at a water treatment facility. In India, we could not drink the tap water. There were aqua guards for us students that filtered water for us in our hostels, classrooms, and dining halls. However, when most Americans visit India, they have to drink from bottled water or else they will get sick from the poorly treated tap water. Dogs, goats, horses, cows, bulls, elephants, monkeys, cats, pigs, you name it. We saw it on the streets of India. It was shocking and quite funny at first, but we all eventually got used to seeing them. The Indian caste system is still very relevant today and many times determines the class of a family. Some of the differences were very apparent. For example, knowing how to speak English is a major indication of high caste or high class in India. are very different than trains in America. First of all, the platforms have no ramps for suitcases. In addition, they are not all air-conditioned, they are not as clean, and assigned seating does not always guarantee you a seat. However, the beauty I saw while traveling cross-country on a train in India is rivaled by nothing else I have ever seen. Pictured are not child beggars. However, it is very common to see children coming up to people asking for money in India. I saw children as young as 3 on their own doing this. It was a very sad sight to see. Where we were in South India, the weather was always in the upper 90s and the sun was a lot stronger than I am used to. I had to drink a lot of Gatorade because of all the headaches I had from the heat shock. The hostels throughout Manipal University were all single-gendered with same-gender staff. The opposite gender was not allowed to enter any of the hostels. Our main source of transportation were rickshaws, like the one pictured. They are 3-wheeled taxis with no doors or seatbelts, so basically, they would never be permitted in the United States. After getting over my fear of them, I came to really love them, and they are unbelievably cheap, a few cents for a ride. In India, staring is not considered rude like it is in the United States. We were stared at a lot because we were foreign. This was something I never really got used to. The internet in India was a lot slower than I am used to. In addition, we did not have unlimited internet. Each month, we were each allotted 15 gigabytes of internet, and if we went over, we either had to buy more or wait until the next month. India is still very much a traditional and patriarchal society. This was often very apparent in the way we were treated by men as foreign women. The beds are very different in India. They do not feel like clouds or cushions like in America. They are very hard, which was hard to adjust to. Eventually I did. India has a population of over 1 billion and poor garbage disposal and recycling systems to support these people. Much of the garbage ends up on the streets, beaches, and in water. Homes of the upper classes and castes, however, are very clean due to personal cleaners. In India, people really live and breathe their faiths. Coming from the United States, where fewer and fewer people will drive 5 minutes to go to a 45-minute mass, it was amazing to see people walking miles without shoes on, carrying children to go to temple for hours, all in the heat. Coming from a place that experiences all 4 seasons and all different types of weather, it was very strange for me to not see rain for almost the entirety of my stay in India. It rained for a few minutes, maybe twice while I was there. However, when monsoon season hits in June through September, it rains every day the entire day. As a manifestation of the traditional roles of men and women in India, relationships between the genders are naturally different than in the United States. Men are often still the breadwinners in households. I also noticed that friendships between males and females at the university were not very common because they did not have much interaction outside of classes. Pictured is food we ate off a banana leaf at an Indian wedding. Traditional Indian eating does not involve any utensils, just your hand and the food. This was something I did a lot and found to be a very satisfying experience. Although our hostels were air-conditioned, many of the classrooms were not, and all of the houses simply had fans. This is unheard of in the US. I was shocked to hear when I got to India that 99% of the marriages in the country are still arranged. Thank you for your attention. I hope this video helped prepare you for future trips to India.